You're listening to the Goalpreneur Podcast with Courtney Spaeth, the go-to place for ambitious and driven female entrepreneurs looking to elevate their business and life. Each episode is packed with actionable insights to help you dream bigger, think bolder, and achieve your next level of success. No playing small here, only strategies and encouragement to help you shine. And now, here's your host, educator, personal development enthusiast, and holistic esthetician, Courtney Spaeth.
Hello, my lovely Goalpreneurs. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Goalpreneur Podcast. I am joined today by Antoinette Engelke, and she specializes in empowering spiritually and holistically minded, high-achieving women to move from feeling disconnected or overwhelmed to achieving deep alignment in mind, body, and spirit, cultivating resilience, vitality, and fulfillment in all areas of life. Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us, for being here today, and we are excited to learn from you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to
awesome
to inform your reader, your listeners, excuse me.
The listeners, yeah. So let's jump right in. I was taking a look at your amazing website, and you offer a handful of courses, of programs, amazing programs. But one that really stood out to me was Healing the Three Brains. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is and who it's suitable for?
Absolutely. So You Can Heal Your Three Brains, what that program is about is the three brains in your body. The first one I like talking about is the gut. The gut is the microbiome. This is related to, obviously, your physical body. The microbiome is responsible for 90% of your serotonin. It's responsible for your being able to train your immune system. There's so many things that the microbiome does. It has a lot to do with your hormones as well. So it really needs to be balanced and healthy in order for the whole physical body to be healthy. So that's the first thing that one of the first things we concentrate on. The other brain that I talk about is the heart itself. The heart is where we express our emotions. Our emotions are expressed in what we call as the vital body, which is a quantum body. I am trained in quantum biology. The vital body holds our chakras. The chakras are where we either store our emotions or we're going to process our emotions. Hopefully we're processing them. The heart is entangled with the vital body, and we absolutely need to be working on our emotions. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. I teach people how to move from the lower frequency of emotions of fear, pain, shame, guilt, over to love, peace, ease, gratitude. How do we do that? How do we recognize that and then move over? That's what the heart brain is about, and that's what I teach there. The third brain is the brain ourself, which is quantumly entangled with our mind. We have 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. If we're not aware of all of those thoughts are actually creating opportunities out in the quantum field of possibilities, and we need to know what we're actually creating. Our emotions is what draws it back to us. But those thoughts, when we're going down rabbit holes, those thoughts are going to create the emotions. And so we need to be able to manage that. And there's reasons why the brain and the mind are doing what they're doing. And it's all based on survival instincts. It's based on the fact that 95% of what we do once we're 35 years old is in our subconscious. And we're kind of running on automatic. We need to stop running on automatic so that we can start being more creative and stop like Groundhog Day. So if you feel like you're just reliving the same day over and over again, it is because you're running on that automatic pilot. You are not in control. You're not managing what is happening, and that's because of the thought. So the thought starts first. It's going to create the emotion. We can stop it at the emotion, which is good, and start managing it there, and then start managing back the thoughts. But it just starts this whole looping process.
My gosh. Okay. So back it up. Did you say we have, excuse me, 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day?
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh. That number is so, I don't even know how that's possible. But I guess when you're having to make a decision on every single thing, and even decisions that you don't even know that you're making.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's decisions you're making when you're driving and you don't even realize you're making them because you're on automatic pilot. So if you think about that those are things that are going through your head that you're not even aware of because it's happening in the subconscious mind.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when you're talking about getting out of that, it sounds like a rut. When you're just working on or living daily on autopilot, that sounds like a rut that you're
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
And then what steps do you suggest for people to get out of that rut?
Right. First step is always awareness. So we need to start becoming aware of the thoughts that we're having and the loops that we're getting ourselves into. A lot of times the loops that we're getting ourselves into is I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I just can't do this, or it's those negative thoughts. And then what happens is the brain is going, well, let's go back and see when this has happened before. Oh yeah, this has happened before, and you didn't do good enough there, or you really aren't worth it. It just keeps coming up with these scenarios, and you keep going down these rabbit holes of things. So we need to start becoming aware of it. And the first thing you need to start doing is journaling. When you become aware that you've gone down a rabbit hole, that awareness is the first step to knock you out of it. And now you are being the observer of the thought instead of getting caught up in the thought. Once you can become the observer, now you have the ability to be able to say, okay, I know that's not true. Or you have the ability to say, let's say you're feeling anxious and the thoughts are, oh my God, this is going to go wrong. That's going to go wrong. And instead, when you see that happening, you can back up and say, oh, that's interesting. I'm having anxious thoughts right now. Now you're the observer to that thought, and you could decide if this is really what is going on in the present moment. Or is this something that your brain has come up with that's pulling you back to the past for a fear of the future, maybe, instead of sitting in the present moment? So the first thing, I've gotten into situations where I can't pull myself out. So that is definitely has happened to me. And the one thing that I teach my clients to do, it's called, I do want to give a technique here that's really important. If you find yourself going down these rabbit holes, you need to move yourself into the present moment. And I haven't talked about this, but the present moment is absolutely key to not going down those rabbit holes. And let me back up a little bit. Pain, shame, and guilt are feelings of the past. Fear is the future. So when we're feeling pain, shame, and guilt, that's coming from our past experiences. We need to not be there. We need to be in the present moment where love, gratitude, appreciation, peace is all in the present moment. When we're feeling fear, we're over here in the future. And so I want people to think about it. When we're being pulled into the past with pain, shame, or guilt, we are being pulled and all of our energy is being drained into the past. And now our resilience is going to go down because we're allowing this draining to happen. When we're in fear, we're going into the future. We're projecting into the future. And that projection is also taking our energy from the present moment and draining our inner battery. We have this inner battery that keeps our resilience. When we stay in the present moment in love, peace, and gratitude, this is when our resilience can go up.
Okay.
So when we get into these rabbit hole thoughts that we get into, and let's say we do pull out and we become the observer, but then it's like an exercise. When you're exercising your muscles, we have to exercise this brain. And so when we first start pulling ourselves out, we can't necessarily keep ourselves out because the muscle isn't quite exercised to do that. And so then the mind has the ability to pull us right back in. And then we have to become the observer again, pull ourselves back out. When we're doing this, a lot of times that could get very frustrating. And so this technique that I'm going to teach right now is a really good technique to try and keep you in the present moment. It's called, and you can look it up on the web, it's a common mindfulness technique. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And what you're doing in that moment is you're saying, okay, I'm going to stay in the present moment. And so you're going to use your eyes, you're going to use your 5 senses you're going to use your eyes and see 5 senses that you can currently see in the present moment. So, for instance, if I was doing that right now, I would say, okay, my camera, Courtney, my certificate. I would look around and see these 5 things, and that's starting to ground you into the present moment. While you're doing this, you're going to do belly breathing. What belly breathing is doing, I'm giving you a lot of techniques here.
You are, and I love it. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. You're going to do belly breathing. Belly breathing, what that does is it takes you from that sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze mode and moves you into the parasympathetic to start bringing that stress level down. So belly breathing is just really simple. It's where you're using your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is pushing down so that you're actually filling up your whole lung from the bottom up. And your belly is moving and your chest is not. If you're doing this or while you're breathing or, that type of stuff, that's that shallow breathing. That shallow breathing is what is bringing you into that sympathetic mode. I have a client where she was not understanding why she couldn't bring herself back into the present moment. I talked to her because I kept seeing as she was breathing, her shoulders were moving. And I said, is this how you're constantly breathing? And the answer was, well, yes. And I'm like, okay, we need to go back to the belly breath. That's like one of the first techniques I teach people. Because when you're not in the belly breath and you're in the chest, that is instructing your nervous system that you're under stress.
Mm-hmm.
So it does not matter what is really going on. If you are breathing from here, your body thinks you're in stress. You absolutely have to come back down to the belly. So that's really critical. So you're doing the belly breath while you're looking around at that sight. So that's number 5. Number 4, you're going to want to touch. That could be touch. It could be hearing. Any one of them. So it would be 4 things, let's say, that you can feel. So for instance, I could feel my feet on the ground. I could, feel the ground underneath me. I could feel my bum on the seat. If my hands are on my pants, I could feel my jeans, so it's the 4 things that you can feel. The 3 things that you can, hear. There's 3 things that you can hear. I could hear a bird chirping outside. All of this is intended to bring you into the present moment. And so you're doing that so that you can ground yourself in the present moment, and you're doing the breath work to bring your nervous system over to the parasympathetic side. And now you could really start saying things to yourself like, okay, let's say you're going on a trip and you're concerned that the hotel room isn't confirmed, or you're concerned with something that's going on. What if you get into a car accident? What if, right? Okay, that is not what is happening in the present moment, and we're going to stay here in the present moment. So it makes it easier to bring yourself back in and recognize that your mind is just taking you places that you don't want to go.
Mm-hmm. So I never really looked at fear or being afraid of something as the future.
Right.
Is that what you said? The fear is what could happen.
It's what could happen because and a lot of times it's because you're remembering something that happened in the past, but the fear that's in right here with you is fear of something that's going to happen to you. So something is in front of you that is triggering your brain to say, this is what happened in the past. And now that fear comes in, and that fear is of the future of what could happen in this situation that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And belly breathing, I will 100% stand behind that. I've been teaching that in my Pilates classes, and I've used it in other situations too, where I felt stressed or overwhelmed. And it was like, okay. And especially with flying, like I'm fine flying. It's not my most favorite thing to do,
right. I hear you.
But I just get anxious and my palms start sweating. So as I'm sitting on the plane and we're starting to take off, like I have to have my shade open. I have to see outside, but I do the belly breathing and I can feel myself kind of calm down, like come to a more balanced state. So I will 100% stand behind the belly breathing. For sure. The sights, the sounds, the other things that you mentioned, I have not really heard of those techniques.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you brought that up, because now we all have something more to add to our tool chest.
Right. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. It's so important when we get down those rabbit hole thoughts to have these techniques available to us.
Oh, for sure.
Especially all the breath work. I teach probably about 15 different breath techniques that somebody can use. And that breath work, when you're in a confrontation, or you're in some type of situation at work that is causing your sympathetic, you feel like that fight flight's coming up. That breath work is not only going to move you to the parasympathetic side and start calming you down, it's going to trigger that it's okay to start thinking. So you're no longer in that the limbic brain anymore. You're no longer in that where you're not thinking. This is now turning on. This is the executive. This is turning on. Now you can actually think of what you want to say instead of being reactive. When we're back here, we're going to be reactive to whatever is going on, and we're going to react based on our past experiences.
So the back part of the brain is the reactive.
Yeah, that's the where the amygdala is at, and the amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for our stress response.
Okay, and then the front part of the brain is
right. Yeah, that's the prefrontal cortex, where it's the executive piece of our brain.
Okay. So when you were talking about stress and other feelings or emotions, I mean, that has a correlation within the body. Coming from the heart, what feelings or emotions are associated with the heart?
So all of your feelings are associated with the heart. All of your feelings are expressed from the heart, and they're going to either be processed and removed from the vital body, or they're going to get stored in your chakras, which are in the vital body. That storing of emotions actually blocks your chakras from being able to bring the energy in from source. Energy comes in from your crown chakra. It can also come in from your root chakra. The energy of Mother Earth, the energy of Father, coming into your chakras. Your chakras have this energy which your cells need in order to reproduce, in order to function. This energy that's coming in, if you have stored your emotions in your chakras, that energy is not going to move freely. What's happening in the chakras is they have like tentacles that are coming out and are going to all of your organs in your body. All right. So the root chakra is responsible for your large intestine. Okay. So your root chakra is responsible for, and other organs that are responsible for elimination. So if things are getting stuck in that root chakra, you're not going to be eliminating correctly, because those organs are not getting the right amount of energy to reproduce properly and to do their job. And so that's why it's absolutely critical that we appropriately express and process our emotions, and that we don't stuff them.
Oh my word. That solves a lot of problems for me. So, I mean, I over the years and being in the holistic field, and like, I have heard about chakras. I don't know too much about them. I've just heard practitioners and massage therapists talk about chakras and energy fields. But out of the chakras, like, what would you consider to be the most important, or are they all considered equally important?
Well, they're all considered equally important because they're responsible for different organs in the body. Like I said, and I'd have to take a look at my, I don't keep that in my memory banks. I'd have to take a look at, which chakra, I'd have to take a look at my notes, which chakra is responsible for which organ. But your heart chakra is obviously responsible for, your heart is responsible for, I don't want to say things that I'd have to take a look at which ones. But if you think about it, the heart is, very, very critical, but so is your stomach, which would
Mm-hmm.
be, most likely part of the solar plexus, the solar plex chakra, so they're all critical. And if one is blocked and the energy is coming in, and let's say your throat chakra is blocked because you have a fear of speaking out your truth, then that energy is not getting to the lower, the right amount of energy is not getting to the lower chakras. And you're talking your heart, your stomach, so each chakra needs to be open and working.
Interesting. I noticed years ago, I'm not great with confrontation. I have gotten better, about
Yeah.
expressing how I feel about things and feeling
Mm-hmm.
comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I feel. That can't be invalidated.
Right.
Um, but I noticed that up in the throat area, it was almost like a blockage. Like I could still talk, but there was a definite blockage that I could feel.
Yeah.
And once I learned the correct, healthy way to communicate and
Mm-hmm.
communicate feelings so the other person isn't automatically put on the defensive,
Right.
but how to correctly communicate feelings and express emotion. Once I figured that part out or started
Mm-hmm.
utilizing that technique, um, I it was like that throat area cleared.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like a
Right.
huge noticeable thing, but it was like, oh, okay, I don't feel like there's this blockage, this lump in my throat anymore. But I kind of knew a little bit about the throat chakra just from the
Mm-hmm.
experience. But I didn't realize that if one part was blocked, that it would limit or block the energy going down to the
Right.
other chakras.
Right. The other chakras will still get energy, but they're not getting the right amount of energy that the
Okay.
organs that are responsible for are needing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what brought you to this field? The type of work that you do and the people that you serve, how did how did you get started?
My daughter, who is now 28 years old, was born very ill. And I was 100% Western medicine. She was on a lot of pharmaceuticals. I actually have, I kept this. This is actually her log of what she was taking when, which pharmaceutical, because I had to keep an eye on, what she was taking. When I looked back at that log, found out that one of the medications was taken off the market for killing babies. And so I had a friend who convinced me to take her to a naturopathic doctor, and I did do that, fortunately, who within 2 weeks had her off all the pharmaceuticals on herbs and homeopathic remedies, and was training me on how to take care of my baby in a natural way. It was an amazing experience because I suddenly had a happy baby. And that just swung me over to, to the more Eastern holistic medicines. And I learned under her a lot, but then I went and I did get an herbal certification so I could learn more about herbs. I also went and got my Reiki master teacher so that I can understand the chakras and understand the energy and how it's flowing in the body, because she would talk about that flow. And I wanted to understand that better as well. I was working in corporate America for quite a long time. I was a senior leader at the Boeing company. And so I was the main financial support of the family. What I needed to do to that fire that got lit, I didn't want it to go out. So that's why I was doing these certifications at night and on the weekends and stuff like that. And I continued to learn. When I left corporate America and took early retirement, I decided I was going to do this full time. This was my passion, my absolute passion. And so I did start doing it full time. And what I started recognizing, yes, people were coming to me for herbs so that they can either reduce or eliminate their pharmaceuticals, which is absolutely amazing. They were coming to me for the Reiki treatments. But what I was seeing is, they kept coming back. And I knew in my heart and soul that we actually have the ability to heal ourselves, and that we don't need to, whether it's pharmaceuticals or natural, we don't need to keep coming back over and over again and doing these techniques. We actually have this ability. So I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree from Quantum University. This is how I know quantum biology. I'm now pursuing my PhD. I should have it in 2026. Yay. So But I continue going because there's so much new science coming out in this area. And I'm going to continue going after my PhD just because it is so intriguing to me what we're learning about quantum physics and how it applies to us and our biology. And I just want to keep learning this so I could keep getting this information out. I want to get it out in podcasts and speaking opportunities. I'm writing a book. I just want to get this information out so that people can actually learn how to heal themselves so they don't need to keep going back over and over again. Just go back for the acute things that happen, not for any of this chronic stuff that is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us more about your book. So you're hoping, tell us when you're hoping it will launch, and then
Okay.
what made you want to write a book?
That is a very good question. As I was working with people individually on my program, the Heal Your Three Brains, I have a couple of other programs out there. If somebody already has a really good nutrition plan and they just want to work on the heart and the mind, we can do that as well. So I could cut, pieces and parts and do it that way as well. But I noticed that my time is limited for one-on-ones or even group sessions because I won't allow more than 10 people in a group session because then it just gets too big. And I can't concentrate on, I can't give the people the right amount of attention in those group sessions. So there's only so many people I can help. And I just have this drive that I need to help more. And I'm just one person. How am I going to do that? And I'll never forget the first podcast that I did back 2 years ago. It was the experience, just like it is now, where it was just so much fun. And that was a podcast that they ended up taking and monetizing on it because it was so people were learning a lot from it. And then it just hit me. I'm impacting so many people, and that just gave me the chills. And I knew this is what my soul wanted me to do. And as I started getting out, I'm like, well, why don't I write a book? I have all this stuff in my head. If I could get it down on paper, and maybe people, they don't have, time to listen to a podcast, but they have time to read a book. Or, that's their form of learning. They learn more by reading than they do by listening. Who knows, what? And I could reach more if I write a book. And then if they, hear this, then maybe they're going to want to go to the podcasts that I've been on and say, hey, what else has she said? What else has she learned? Because I'm going to keep, every time I learn something new, I'm going to be going on podcasts. The book is a moment in time. And hopefully that is going to catch people and say, oh my gosh, look at what is going on. And where is she speaking now? Where is she? Where can I learn more from her? And as I'm learning more, I'm going to get that information out there through podcasts, through speaking opportunities, and wherever I can find it. It's just something that has filled my soul. I can't even tell you.
Oh, that is so good. I feel like there's people blessed with certain gifts, and writing is definitely a gift. And to take all of that knowledge that you have and to be able to put it on paper into terms that the average person can understand and learn from. I mean, excuse me. I was reading, I think it was either Jim Rohn or Napoleon Hill's book. I cannot remember. But in the book, the author had said, once you stop learning, once you stop reading, once you stop learning, you are now settling for an average life.
Right.
I don't know anybody that wants to settle for an average life. Who wants to be average? Right. So I think you have the gift. You have the gift to write. You have the gift to share your knowledge. I'm excited to read your book. I will be buying it. And I hope to have you back on that we can talk about it. But that way, I mean, you should always be learning. People should always be learning. And some people, like you said, some people learn better by listening. Others learn better. Like for me, I learn better by an actual physical book.
Mm-hmm.
That way I highlight, I jot down notes, I write my own stuff. Mm-hmm. I underline. I mean, that helps it to resonate with me. But I mean, that's such an amazing gift that you've been blessed with. All of your knowledge, to be able to pour that into book, to be able to reach so many more people.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Planning on having an editor I'm not the greatest writer. I'm
We're
doing my
always our
best.
worst critic.
I know,
I'm
that's so
sure you
true.
are.
That's so true. Yeah, no, it's boy, writing is more difficult than I thought it was going to be, but it has still been rewarding to be able to get my thoughts all down and figure out how to organize them. And yeah,
So
it's
how
been
long
fun.
have you been writing the book?
I have been writing the book. So I have been thinking about it for a year and it hasn't been able to get out of my mind. So I knew it was something I absolutely had to do. And I started it late last year. I'd say November timeframe. I started it and the first draft is almost done. I am going to now take it and talk to a friend of mine who is an English major. And she's already said that she'll read it and do some editing for me. And so I'm going to give it to her and see what she comes up with to make it, you know, flow better or make sure that
Yeah.
my grammar isn't all that completely off.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. On your website, let's see. Your website's amazing, by the way. It is so
Oh,
straightforward. It is not confused. I've been on websites that are so confusing, and
oh,
I
thank you.
immediately close it. But I love your website. So you also, I see a picture of you and a horse. Do you also work with horses?
I do. So my horse, let's see if her picture will come up. There she is. That is Lily.
Yeah.
And Lily is, she's an amazing horse. When I started going to school at Quantum University, the one thing that they told us is that you absolutely have to apply what you're learning. You can't teach it if you don't apply it to yourself. I absolutely loved that philosophy and said, yes, I will apply it. Now, being a senior leader from Boeing, I'm like, oh, I got myself together. Well, Lily and I, when we first met, we were just like knocking heads. And that's not necessarily a safe place to be when you have 1,000-pound animal that you're knocking heads with.
Right.
But I had been around horses since I was 12 years old. So I was like, this is obviously her problem, not mine. I started working on the emotional intelligence with myself and I started working on the mindfulness and I started noticing a change in Lily. So when I would first go down to get her out of the pasture, she would run from me. She didn't have anything to do with me. And it would take me an hour to chase her and get her and, and then be able to work her, saddle her and all that stuff. It would be a half day deal. And then as I started working on myself, I started noticing that she would not, maybe it took me 30 minutes to catch her instead of an hour. Maybe the next time it would take 20 minutes. And I started recognizing that it had to do with me being able to process my emotions and process my thoughts. I'll never forget this one time when I went down to the pasture to get her. And before I went down, I decided I was going to do some mindfulness techniques and get myself centered before I went down. Well, let me back up because what had happened like the week before, I went down and I noticed that she like popped up and was, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, what thought went through my head? And I realized what loop I was getting into and went, nope. And I calmed myself down. She calmed down. And then I walked back towards her and she allowed me to catch her. And so that's when I went, oh, that was like the biggest light bulb for me. And so the next time I went down to go catch her, I decided I was going to work on myself before I went down. I was going to do some mindfulness and breath work before I went down to catch her. And when I opened the gate and I walked in, and when she started running up towards me, I knew she wasn't charging me. She had charged me several times, but that time she wasn't charging me. Her ears were not pinned. She came running up to me. She stopped dead in front of me, dropped her head, which is always a sign that the horse is comfortable. And the words that came to my mind was, "Welcome home, Mom." And that was when I realized I was not there to teach her. She was there to teach me. She was my teacher. And what an amazing horse. We have had the most amazing relationship since then. I never go to her in a frantic, position anymore. And when I see her reacting and pulling back, and I'm like, okay, what thought did I just have? She is my mirror. And I've decided that she can help others like she helped me. And so last year I had a couple of workshops where workshops are interesting to put together. They take a while, the marketing and everything has to go along with that. And I had a couple of workshops where I teach people breath work, and I teach them mindfulness, and I show them what the horse is going to do in a safe situation when this is what the horse is going to do. And usually what she'll do is she'll stay away from the people. She'll be at the other end of the arena. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you when you're not in what I call a coherent space. Once I teach you coherent spaces, she'll start walking up to you. She'll want to get into that coherent space with you because she's comfortable with it. And it's a moment where people just emote. It just brings out so much emotion in them. They're processing, and it's just an amazing experience for everyone. So I do workshops with her. She is actually currently at a ranch that does therapy. They do therapy for special needs children and adults. She absolutely loves her job. She is so good at it. She is their number one horse that they go to. She has about 7 or 8 clients because they don't overbook their horses, which I really appreciate. And then I could go in and use her as well when I want to for my clients. I have brought, clients just one-on-one with her and not done the workshop. So I do that as well. If people want to pay me to go to, and come and utilize the horse, that's fine as well. But I usually do it in workshop settings because it's less expensive for people that way.
Wow. So when you were talking about the horse being able to read, are they reading energy?
Yeah.
Or is it more just like sensing, feeling the shift in the energies?
So we emit an electromagnetic field, and our thoughts and our emotions are huge in that. The thoughts are the electrical charge, and the heart is the magnetic charge. So the electromagnetic field that we are producing, it is coming from our heart, and it goes about 3 to 5 feet out from our bodies. The horse's electromagnetic field is about 15 feet from their body. When the electromagnetic fields hit, they read you. They know exactly what's going on. They can actually hear your heartbeat as well. People don't realize that. And so this is why people say that you cannot fool a horse. The reason they can hear your heartbeat is because what they do as a it's called a band, not a herd, but what they do as a band is they all get their heart rate on the same beat. So that if someone new is approaching, they hear that different beat. Now they know, is this a predator? What's going on? And they're more alert because 15 feet out, they know somebody else is approaching them.
Wow.
Because they can hear your heart beating, you can look on the outside like you're as calm as you want to be. They know what's going on inside.
Oh my gosh. That was something new that I never knew that. Never.
Yeah. That's why horses are absolutely amazing. They know exactly what's going on. And I believe
they're beautiful animals.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I took horse riding lessons. Well, my daughter actually, a couple of years ago, she loves horses, wanted to do riding lessons. So it got to be the winter time back in Wisconsin, and she's like, it's too cold. I don't want to do this anymore. But she loved horses, and I was so sad to see her give that up. But I said, okay, that's fine. I like horses. I'm going to take your spot with riding.
Nice.
So I feel, they are majestic. They are huge. They're massive. Gotta respect them. But I felt so calm around these horses. And the horse trainer would set me up on different horses depending on what day it was. There was one time she had me close my eyes and just, do some deep breathing. And then the horse started going and my eyes are closed. She goes, okay, now you need to let go of the reins. I'm like, oh my word. Okay. I could tell I was getting a little anxious. And I'm like, okay, deep breathe, do some deep breath work. And I felt like I'm trusting this animal. I'm trusting this horse. We're going to work together. And I don't know what it was. Maybe what you were just describing, but I didn't know it at the time. But my I was calm. I was balanced. I was trusting this horse with my life. And, we would trot around the barn or the stable. And then She goes, okay, now turn your body side to side. So now I'm doing something else while this horse is going. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think what you were just describing, it was probably something what I was experiencing, that connection. Like
Yes.
my energy was calm. I was calm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trusting in this horse to do its job and to
Yeah.
take care of me. I
Mm-hmm.
felt so free during that moment. It was like, it was an unbelievable feeling. Just unbelievable.
Absolutely. And I think what the horse did for you there is one thing that they do have the capability of doing. And Lily has learned how to do this. Meet you where you are as far as your electromagnetic field. And as long as you're not off into crazy business, meet you where you're at. And once they meet you where you're at, as they start bringing their resilience and their coherence up, you start coming up with them. And this is how they heal, is because when your resilience and your coherence raises, now you are in the present moment. And in that present moment is where love, peace, and ease is at. And that's where the healing can come in. So that's another ability that the horses have. So even though you got into a little bit of a nervous state, you brought yourself back down with that breath work. The horse met you and then brought you back up to where he or she wanted you to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you say when you do, is it group coaching or one-on-one that you're also working with the horse?
So if a client says, I'd really like to experience this, whether they're in my group sessions or they're my one-on-ones, as long as they're in Colorado where I'm at, they can meet me at the ranch. We could arrange it to meet at the ranch and do, a 2-hour, it would probably just be a 2-hour session with the horse if they want to do it. So that's pretty much how I do when someone wants to work with me. If I have a workshop going on, then I would be marketing it and people would know and they could sign up for the workshop.
Yeah.
And those are usually 4 to 6 hours.
Okay. So let's get back to the healing the three brains. When you're coaching, now are you doing live coaching through that program, or is it everything is already recorded and we're purchasing the material and doing it like a self-paced course?
Right. So it is all recorded. So what's recorded is the teachings. I teach people what, if I'm teaching mindfulness, I'm going to teach things like automaticity. I'm going to teach judgments. I'm going to teach ego. I'm going to teach things that are around mindfulness. When it comes to emotional intelligence, I'm going to teach about the emotions and all of those teachings are pre-recorded. Reason being is I don't want to teach you in the coaching session itself. I want to coach you. When you come into either a one-on-one session or a coaching session, and it all depends upon how you want it set up. If you want to only do one-on-ones with me, you can do that. I always invite you to the group sessions. If I have room in a group session, I can invite you to one. But the one-on-one sessions, then you're going to book every 2 weeks with me, because you're going to have gone through the training and you're going to have been given a technique that you're going to practice for those 2 weeks. And then you're going to come into a one-on-one session with me. And we're going to find out what was going on that week. Did you use any of the breath work? How did it work out for you? If you have any questions around the training, and then, actual coaching is happening. I find that this is a much better use of my time and your time, because I'm not sitting there teaching you for 20 minutes and then coaching you for only 20 minutes or 30 minutes, right? So that's why I do it that way. But it is self-paced. If you can get through the program in 7 months, if you want to take a year, you can take a year. We could work things out. I do take monthly payments instead of lump sum. So I work things out. If you want to just do group sessions with me, we can do that. That's less expensive. And what you're doing then every 2 weeks is you're coming into a group session and we're going around the room and finding out what's going on. And a lot of times that gives that community feeling. And people, I don't mind if somebody says, gosh, you know what, that happened to me like 2 weeks ago. And this is the technique I used that helped me get out of that situation. So now we've got this community that's working in those group sessions, which is really nice as well.
Yeah. Community involvement it's nice to have that, that camaraderie,
Yeah,
that sisterhood. Now, do you mainly just work with women, or are you working with men and women?
I market towards women because I was a corporate leader. I understand what it's like to be a high achiever and maybe not really know how to manage your emotions and thoughts and think you're doing a great job, and then find out later that you're starting to have blood pressure issues, you're starting to have gut issues, you're starting, things are starting to happen that in your physical body, and you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. I understand that. I went through that myself, and I can relate to leaders like that. I do have 2 men in my program, and I love them absolutely, because I think women, for whatever reason, they're more apt to wanting to have that self-improvement. It's so hard getting the men to do that, and men need it just as badly as the women. And I could
Right.
definitely, I have a husband. I understand men somewhat.
Oh, it takes years to figure them out. And when you
I
finally
know.
do figure them out, it's like, wait a second, what just happened?
But yeah, I know.
Oh,
No, but I do have 2 men in my program right now, so that's good.
oh,
Yeah.
that's great. We're almost out of time. What So, has there been a client of yours that just totally stands out in your mind that came to you like bottom of the barrel?
Yeah.
Just needing something, needing help, just kind of in
Mhm.
despair, in living in that robot life.
Yeah.
And then they go through your program, had this huge, amazing transformation. And is there somebody, a client of yours, that just stands out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Her name is Sarah, and she is one of the testimonials that is on the website, because she did have an amazing transformation. When I first started meeting with Sarah, she's in a different state, and it was all on Zoom. And she was in her bedroom, the blinds were drawn, and all I saw was this silhouette in front of me. She was anxious. Everything was delivered to the house. She could not walk into the grocery store without a panic attack. She no longer went hiking with her friends. It was just, she had tumbled into despair and depression. She was advised to come to me by my soul sister, and I worked with her on emotional intelligence is what we started with. And within 4 weeks, I was able to see her in her kitchen with the blinds were up, and I saw this beautiful woman sitting in front of me that I was working with, and it was absolutely amazing. By the end of, she did the Heartful Resilience program, which is just the emotional intelligence piece of it. And so if you can imagine, just the emotional intelligence piece can do this for you. She was she started going out hiking again. She went kayaking with my soul sister. She started going to the grocery store. When she would go and she would start feeling that panic attack come on, she would know what breath work to use to bring herself back into the present moment. So she is the one that just stands out to me, because she went from that depression to a state of vitality, to a state of living again.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful story. What a beautiful transformation.
Yeah. She got her life back.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That just gave me goosebumps. I love that. All right. Antoinette, how can people find you? What are your social handles, your website?
Yeah. So my company is called Soaring to Source. And that is all about, is aligning your quantum bodies and and those physical bodies, those 3 brains, so that you could soar to your source of healing and bring it down. So I wanted to mention why my business is called that. The website is S, and then the number 2, S. So for Soaring to Source, naturalhealth.com. So S2S naturalhealth.com is the website. And the handle on Instagram is S2S Natural Health. And then Facebook, I usually just use my personal page, but I do have a business page. I need to start posting more out there. I'm not the greatest at social media, but
It's hard doing it all. It is so hard to do it all.
It is. There's so many things to post to, and I LinkedIn. I think it's just Antoinette Engelke on LinkedIn. I do like LinkedIn. I don't know. Yeah, it's just Antoinette Engelke, all one word, on LinkedIn. So those are usually LinkedIn. I'm posting a newsletter, and then I'm trying to get things out. I do get things out on my personal page, and then I get them out on Instagram too. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So should we look for your book sometime in quarter 2?
At the end of quarter 2 would be a really good time to look for it. It's right now, I think I'm going to stick with this name. I kind of like it. It's called The Quantum Blueprint, and it's about aligning. When you align yourself, you create your own quantum blueprint on what that is. Everyone's different on what their alignment is.
Oh,
So
okay. Interesting. And you'll be posting updates about your book on social media. Do you have a newsletter that goes out? Can people sign up for an email list?
absolutely. So on my website, let me take a look. Yeah, the Contact Us page will we'll put you into the newsletter so that they can start getting the newsletter. I give tips and tricks there. If they what's it called, where they friend you on LinkedIn? I think you have to friend. I'm not sure, but I do post it. I post the news. Yeah, connect. I do post the same newsletter on LinkedIn as well. And but if you are in my newsletter, that's where you're going to find out, like if I'm putting together a workshop with the horses, or what I'm, you're going to really find out a lot more in the newsletter that is coming out in email.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put all of your contact info into the show notes, so it'll make it nice and easy for my listeners to go in and just click, and then they'll be right to your site or your social media page. And I'm excited. I will be on the lookout. So please let me know when your book is published, where we can get it, because then I will put that out to my audience as well. But is there anything that you want my listeners to know? Is there a question that I didn't ask that you're just like, they need to know this part?
I think we covered just about everything. So
we did talk about a lot.
We talked about a lot. Yes. Nothing's jumping out at me right now.
Okay. Yeah. I always like to ask. Never know. Antoinette, thank you so much for your time today. This was an amazing conversation, and it explained some things became way more clear to me about why things happen or why I'm feeling a certain way. So that was nice clarity. And the techniques that you mentioned, I know I'm going to go back and re-listen to that part just to have, so it can settle into my mind. So it's like, okay, when I'm feeling this way, I need to be doing this technique just to bring everything down. But belly breathing is an amazing tool. Everybody should be doing it. You could do it anywhere.
Oh yeah. Nobody has to know you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect. So Antoinette, thank you so much again for being on the Goalpreneur podcast. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Courtney, for having me on.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, that was so good, right? I hope you're walking away feeling inspired, fired up, and ready to take action. Listen, if anything in this episode resonated with you, if you had an aha moment or even just a little heart nudge, please do me a favor and share this episode. Send it to a friend, post it on your social media, and also tag me at I am Courtney Spaeth, and that way I can cheer you on. If you love hanging out here, please make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also, it would mean the world to me if you left a quick review. That way, your reviews help more amazing people like you find this podcast and step into the life that they are meant for. So before I wrap up, I want to leave you with these 3 things. You are worthy of success, love, and abundance. Every step that you take brings you closer to your dreams, and you are exactly where you need to be, and you are enough just as you are. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here. And until next time, keep chasing those big, beautiful dreams.